Morning, everybody. Scott Schaefer, A Theory of Nothing. Let's talk about resonance, specifically with topics and how they resonate with you. Yesterday, when I got up to go to work, I had one of the feeds in my YouTube channel from Brian Stavely. As any of you who know him, Brian is a power horse when it comes to doing anything flat Earth, ME, what the naysayers call a government conspiracy type of stuff. Anything conspiracy type of stuff, Brian's pretty good about doing it. And he's got his own thoughts on there. I don't necessarily agree with some of his thoughts, but that's fine. We can all have differences of opinions and still have conversations and still share knowledge. I believe he was interviewing or doing not an interview, but he was doing the conversation with or dual video live stream with Truth Seeker 69, I think is her channel. So the live stream had a like a map of Germany in yellow on the page cover that you used to find the video, and it's something about when are you people going to wake up, or it's time for you guys to wake up, or something like that. Anyways, the title is not that important, but if you want to go check that video out, go to Brian Stavely's page, not the Dose of Reality or the other one he has, just Brian Stavely, and then that video is on there. Like I said, I think it was with Truth Seeker 69 is who we did it with, but in the video, he had just 2 tons of static in his voice. Like every time he was trying to talk about different subject matter and show video clips and things like that, his audio signal kept, like, it was echoing, it was giving him problems, and then it was causing Truth Seeker to have issues on her end. And I think they ran for like an hour 45 or something like that with these technical issues before he finally said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a break, because I'm going to shut down this live stream. When we come back, he's going to try to fix his computer, mess around with it, whatever. And when they come back from break, he'll just do another live stream. And then they start taking some live calls. So she said, yeah, that sounds good. So anyways, in this video, he was, as the lady's been talking a lot about Germany and Germany's history. Specifically as it pertains to world events, like, potentially major historic events. They were talking about, the U-boats have now attacked over 800 ships up and down the East Coast on American waters, like within, well, he said 100 feet or 120 feet off of the shore, which, a Navy vessel can't even get that close, and neither can a submarine. But in some areas it could be where there's deep cliffs, where there's a deep drop off. But in most areas, the land's got to feather out as it gets into the ocean. But anyway, so he's saying, yeah, there was reports that they are saying, ships as close as 120 feet off of the shoreline were being sunk. They were just like blowing up, and no one knew why. Well, they didn't know why because they didn't know anything about submarines back then, and the Germans, the German U-boat submarines, coming over and wreaking destruction. And then he had mentioned which is an ME for me too, because I don't remember any of that. He also mentions again the Black Tom event, which for any of you who do not know what that is, that was Black Tom was a arsenal, a U.S. arsenal up in Jersey near the Statue of Liberty. / Ellis Island / Liberty Island. Apparently, for the Black Tom event, some German spies had come over and set off, I don't know how much TNT, but they set off, quite a bit, and it had caused this major explosion. And when it did, the explosion for like a 3-mile radius, I think is what the article said, maybe a 5-mile radius, blew out all the windows on all the buildings on the lower floors, on a business, because it's in a business district over there, the industrial district. Killed some people that were on the base, injured like hundreds of people, and then supposedly some debris had flown up and hit the Statue of Liberty. Now, the debris would not have been able to do that had the Statue of Liberty been on the location of where I remember, where most of us in the ME community remember, which is on Ellis Island. It was on a square pedestal on Ellis Island, and now it's on a star pedestal on Liberty Island, and supposedly has always been. So it's not like they moved it, it's just like that it's always been there. And that was how it was able to be hit, because of the debris from this arsenal explosion had flown up and supposedly hit in the torch, and then the torch got damaged to where no one can now, at that time, or from that time going forward, no one could go up and visit the torch, which is BS, because when in the 80s, I was in junior high school, was going to Washington, D.C. for a school function. We stopped in New York to do some tourist stuff, and one of the things I got to do was climb up the ladder. It's like a ladder staircase kind of hybrid, really tiny corridor going up the arm all the way to the torch. And then at the torch, they've got a ring around the top of the torch, and they got a metal wire mesh around the bottom of it so you can't slip off. And it's it's a single file. They don't let a whole crap ton of people go up at one time. They usually have, if they're going to do it, they usually have one of the tour guides who was already up there ahead of time to make sure that you go up after him, and then when you're coming back down, he's the last one down to make sure the torch is clear, so they don't just leave anyone up there, and then they lock it and things like that. So for me, that was a big Mandela effect. It was a big Mandela effect when I first found out about it a couple of years ago. It still resonates with me now. But what resonated me really hardcore in this video that Brian was talking about, because I've heard about the U-boats, I've heard about that bombing, I heard about some other stuff he was talking about. He brought up the point about now a lot of these Germans have star-shaped bunkers, much like the Statue of Liberty base, which is weird. I didn't know that. That's a new one for me. I'm pretty sure that, as I remember, each and every single bunker in the entire history of the World War, they were all just square bunkers or rectangular shape. I don't even remember there even being round, let alone a star-shaped one. So I didn't do any digging into that, because that's not what the resonance, which is what I want to talk about in this video, is all about. He had brought up and all this kind of stuff, and him and Trusik were kind of joking around and laughing around, and just kind of being like, hey, it's to the point now where stuff is so retarded that it's like, how is it that people can't wake up to these things? Because when you talk to people about it, they may tell you that, oh no, I've never heard of this event or that event or anything else, and then you tell them, like, well, where's Statue of Liberty? And they'll say, most of them, some of them don't, but most of them will say, oh, it's on Ellis Island. Now our kids, my son, he said Liberty Island when I first asked him, so I don't know if he had recently looked it up, or if that's what he remembers it having been. But for me, it was Ellis Island. It was on Ellis Island when I went to there and went to go visit at the port of entry, and then you go through the port of entry, and then you go out of the port of entry, and then you walk to the other side of the island on Ellis Island and to go to the Statue of Liberty. It's not a big island; it's a pretty small space, but that's how it is. It had the port of entry, you walk through the port of entry, and then it had the Statue of Liberty there. So, anyhow, pulling into a spot right here. One of the other things that he had brought up, which is what the main focus of the resonance was, is he brought up he had asked Truth Seeker if she had ever heard of George Bush assassination attempt, not senior, junior. And I was thinking, as soon as he said that, I was like, whoa, whoa. I remember one. He's like, well, there was multiple assassination attempts, and I was like, what? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I said, well, okay. He didn't go into the very specifics of what it was. He just brought up the point that he never heard about it, and presidential assassination attempts are pretty big news. So I'm going to show you guys this right here. This is assassination attempts against George W. Bush, right? And the first one is the one that I remember, which is in 2001. There was a IRS, I think it was an IRS audit agent, Robert Pickett, had gone out in front of the, he was on the, not on the lawn, he was outside of the fence across from where the Oval Office is, and fired off, I want to say it was a .22 rifle that he had used, but supposedly fired off a bunch of shots back in 2001. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that, I remember that one. So that one was not that big of a deal for me. Then, in 2005, there was another attack on him. Now, I don't remember the exact year, but I do remember that at some point, Bush was over in, he was somewhere over in one of the Arabic nations, and while doing a speech, some guy come running up out of the crowd and tossed his shoe at him, and then he turned around and took off his other shoe and he threw it at him as well. And it was a whole big thing because, he had said, well, he had done some stupid comment about, hitting him with the shoe, and, could do it once, but try to hit him with the shoe again, can't hit him with the shoe or something like that. I don't know. It's some stupid thing that he did, and there was a bunch of memes about it. But I couldn't remember the exact year. I knew it was after the 2001 incident. Well, apparently this 2005 incident, and I'm going to read it to you guys. May 10th, 2005, while President Bush was giving a speech in Freedom Square in Tbilisi, Georgia, Vladimir Arutyunian, whatever the hell his name is, threw a Soviet-made RGD-5 hand grenade towards the podium. The grenade was live, had the pin pulled, but did not explode because it was wrapped in a red tartan handkerchief too tightly, which prevented it from exploding. The guy got away, this Arutyunian, whatever, was finally arrested in July. So he did it in May during that, and then he left in July. Supposedly during his arrest, he killed an Interior Ministry agent, and then he was convicted in January 2006 with a life sentence. Now, I after seeing that, I was like, oh shit. Well, 2005, right? I mean, we had a lot of the news coverages were doing high-def videos back then, so I was like, okay, there's got to be a video of this incident. So I started trying to, going over Google and looking all over the place, and I couldn't find any videos on record from Google searches about that incident, except for one, and it was an ABC News video clip. So I said, okay, click on that. Well, when I clicked on that, the weirdest thing, when I clicked on it, it kept buffering. So it took it to the ABC News website, but the video kept buffering and it never showed it. And it was supposed to be an actual clip of the speech, which would have had the bombing in there, because that's how it was titled, the assassination attempt. And I could not for the life of me get it to load. It couldn't buffer. Then all of a sudden, my computer started freezing up and acting up, and I lost my network connectivity, which there's no reason why I should have from doing internet searches. It was the only thing that I had open at the time because it was, during lunch. And I could close out all my windows, like everything on my computer, and then it still wouldn't reboot connectivity. So I had to actually shut down my computer, turn it back on again. So then I tried to do the same Google search, found the same ABC clipping, tried to do it again. And as soon as I tried 3 times to get it to load, and it kept buffer. And after the third time, it clipped my network connectivity again. I was like, well, shit. Turned off, rebooted my computer, go back in. When I went back in that time, I didn't go to that article. I decided to go to YouTube and look for it. Well, I found 3 videos of the speech that were put up by just general YouTube users in 2016 of this 15 incident. At no point during the speech, which was about 25 minute long speech that he did, from the time he walked out, did his speech, they played some music, and he walked back away, at no time did the crowd freak out, did anyone go rushing around, did anything happen at all. So this guy right here, and if you could see, right down here is supposedly the hand grenade. So on the video that I saw, it was just a wide pan and zoomed into Bush, and then was a wide pan zoomed into his wife and the new Georgian minister or whatever that was getting voted in, that just got voted in, whatever. So, but anyways, it was just doing that and doing crowd shots, but wide out crowd shots. But how in the hell did they get such a high def, up close picture of the actual terrorist holding the freaking grenade before throwing it at the stage? It makes 0 sense whatsoever. And then in this one, it says the assassination attempt that he waited for U.S. President Bush and the Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili to speak in the Central Liberty Square. While Bush was speaking, this terrorist guy threw a Soviet-made hand-wrapped grenade. The grenade landed. He threw it towards the podium where Bush stood as he addressed the crowd. This grenade landed only 61 feet away from the podium, near where the President Mikhail, his wife, Laura Bush, and other officials were seated. After the grenade failed to detonate, even though at first the original report said it wasn't live, it just didn't detonate because of that, but it hit a girl, which cushioned the impact. The handkerchief remained wrapped around the grenade tightly, which prevented the striker from releasing, and then a Georgian security officer grabbed the grenade. So, if that had happened during this speech, and here's an image from the speech right here, where him and the other guy are sitting there holding hands, right, the Georgian guy. If that had happened at any time, some girl got hit, she'd look down, guy would bend down, security guy would bend down, pick it up. The crowd would have freaked the hell out. Especially if at any iota of a sense, they assumed it was a grenade. And at no point whatsoever, when the security guard realized it was a hand grenade, did he stop the speech altogether and rush the president, our president, the Georgian president, and their wives off the damn stage. Instantaneously upon any threat, during any speech whatsoever, the Secret Service shuts it down and removes the president when it is an actual assassination type of attempt. A hand grenade is a pretty big freaking deal. I should have heard about that. You should have heard about that. Let me know in the comments section below if you did hear about it, because I'd like to know if you had, because that one's a news flash to me. Going back to the tech thing for a minute. I've been trying to get in touch with SMQ and Chris Sinatra because, Chris is into the writing programs category of tech, and SMQ, I think, does, well, actually, I don't know I think he said before what he does, but I know he does something with code, writing code or whatever, so they both are in that field. But I've been having, like I said, massive issues. Anytime I've really tried to, after I did the Chris Sinatra interview and have just gone back and forth with SMQ through emails and Twitter feed and stuff like that and Skype messaging, I'm having major issues with all my computers, all my laptops, my phone, my workstation, everything. So let me know in the comment section too if you guys, when you're doing any kind of an ME type of research on a subject matter like that, like this, when I was trying to research this thing right here, it kept screwing up my computer to where I had to keep reboot my computer because it kept cutting off my internet access for no reason. I did it the other night. I was researching. I was at home on my laptop computer, and I had been researching. I think it was the balloon bombs from Japan. After they had bombed Pearl Harbor, they launched, I don't know, 50,000 balloon bombs towards the U.S. and supposedly they had, a lot of them had landed or exploded in Seattle. And I was just starting to do some research into that, and then all of a sudden my laptop started acting up. I lost my connectivity to the network server and had to reboot my laptop. Now when I rebooted my laptop, I have I think it's called the static drive or whatever in the laptop. So it, like, when it boots up, it like literally boots up in half of a second. My computer laptop wouldn't boot up. It took me 5-10 minutes of plugging it in, putting on the power, taking out the power cord, doing different things like that to finally get it to work. And when I finally did, it took it 5 minutes to get network access back to the internet. So it's almost like as if the system that we're living in is starting to denote when we're doing research on stuff, and it doesn't want us to find out about it. Like, it hasn't had a chance to fully update the digital version of everything to match history, and therefore it's like deadbeating, saying timeout, you can't research it. At least that's what's happening to me. So anyways, let me know in the comment section below if you guys are having that issue, and until the next video, I'm Scott Schaefer. Thank you for watching A Theory of Nothing.